Hello and good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending this Clarity webinar on how do I get more customers? A question which I'm pretty sure most of us will be asking ourselves day in, day out. My name is Paul Lavelle. I'm from T21 Group and I will be presenting this seminar alongside my good friend and fellow Clarity board member, Darren Sheriff of Lone Star Consulting. Now, by way of an agenda, after this introduction, we'll be looking at these three key areas in order to try and answer that question, how do I get more customers? We'll be taking a brief look at the customer journey and digging into why it's important when you're looking to make your business more magnetic to more people from diverse backgrounds. We'll spend some time looking at how to analyze your business strengths and weaknesses and ask ourselves the question, how honest are we really when we do this? And we will also look to share some universal tips for to help you with your sales and marketing strategies. So we'll be aiming to wrap up within about 60 minutes. So please do stay with us. If you want to ask any questions, there is a panel on the left-hand side of the webinar panel that you're probably looking at right now. So just jot any questions into that box, and if we have time at the end of it, we'll take a look through and answer as many of them as we can. Just before we start that, what I would like to do is just talk very briefly about Clarity training. Now, many of you may know that we as Clarity ran some training pre-COVID. Really, we had a program going around the country, which was a face-to-face training program aimed at retailers and also manufacturers in the hi-fi industry. And it was all going swimmingly until COVID cast its long shadow, and everything obviously had to stop as far as that was concerned. So we're looking to bring it back. And this is partly why we're running this webinar now. It's to kind of give you an idea, perhaps, of how we can support your business through Clarity training. This is really just top level stuff. So when we go to run the actual training days themselves, they will dig into a lot more detail than we're sharing with you this morning. Now, we've already identified three key areas that we think we'd like to focus on, or that we think we should focus on in order to help businesses within the industry. And those are sales skills and customer experience, kind of the retail facing side of things, I guess, but also perhaps applicable to manufacturers as well. We are an association that aims to provide support for manufacturers as well as retailers in the hi-fi industry as well. And certainly sales skills and customer experience apply as much to your field reps and business development managers as they do to the guys on the shop floor working in retail. So we can certainly do a lot of stuff there. We can also offer business owners advice and help and support on putting together a business strategy and making that work. So that's quite a long term thing, but we can certainly do that because we do have the expertise within Clarity to offer that. We also have a lot of expertise on the kind of technical skills that are often required for complex audio solutions, and we can offer training there as well. But of course, we'd like to know what else you guys think we should offer. So do please get in touch with us after this webinar or ask a question in the panel and let us know what works for you. As I said, Clarity is not just an association for retailers. We are also open to manufacturers in the hi-fi industry as well. The whole idea is to bring both of those together for the betterment of everybody within the industry and also our end users. We're all working towards the same goals, and if we can work together and support each other, then that's basically ideal. That's what we want to achieve through Clarity. So all that remains really is to introduce ourselves properly, and give you really an idea as to where our history and experience and I guess knowledge of what we're going to be sharing with you this morning, where it all comes from. So firstly, just want to say that both Darren and I are both Clarity board members. We both run our own companies and we both ask ourselves this very same question every day: where do we get more customers? We both have a long-standing history in the consumer electronics and hi-fi sectors. Darren slightly longer than me. So So starting with me first off, so my name is Paul Laville and I run T21 Group Limited. Here we go. So this is me, believe it or not. I do have quite a bit of experience in working with technical stuff, but obviously this morning it just wasn't happening. So fingers crossed we're good. Just to give you a little bit of background, I've been in this industry since the 1990s. Started as a kind of a Saturday store assistant and worked my way up in retail very quickly. Went to work for a couple of manufacturers, some on there you might recognize, such as Sharp and the old D&M Audio Visual. And then set up my own business, which is T21 in 2015, primarily to provide a premium training resource, whether that's face-to-face delivery, helping brands out with their training, or just training on the shop floor, both face-to-face and online. I'm just going to hand over to Darren so that he can introduce himself.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and hopefully you're hearing me loud and clear. Yeah, hopefully most of you know who I am, but if Paul, if you could scroll down, great. You can see here, I've been in the, specifically in the hi-fi industry since the late 80s. Wealth of experience, have a tendency, as you can see here, for working for Japanese companies. So very much understand that ethos and way of working. But obviously varying different levels of management experience over the course of several years, shall we say, until last year, where I left Yamaha and set up on my own, providing a service like this very thing. Yeah, look forward to continuing with the rest of the presentation and catching up with you all at a later date. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Darren. So let's crack on then. So this is the whole point of the webinar, which is to ask the question, which is a question I'm sure we all ask ourselves: how do I get more customers? Or in other words, how does my business become more magnetic? So there's no easy answer to this, but what we've done is we've kind of picked out 3 key areas that you should look at. Now, the first of these is going to be the customer journey, and then also who are your customers. So who are the customers you want to attract, and what do they do, what are their behaviors, what are their preferences. We'll also, as I said, look at business strength as well. So really talking about what do we mean by this, and how well do you actually understand your business's strengths and also its weaknesses. We're going to look at sales and marketing as well. So we look at how you're marketing your business online, offline, and everything in between. So if we start with the customer journey first off, let's just dig into this and have a look at what we mean by this and why it's important. Usually, or sometimes, what used to happen at this point when I do a presentation on the customer journey is everybody would leave because they think, well, it's just one of those things that people say. It's just a kind of a business speak bit of nonsense, but it really isn't. It's so important. If you don't understand how customers travel towards and then through your business, then it's going to be very, very difficult to actually get a handle on how to attract anybody into there at all. So it's really, really worth spending the time and the effort on analyzing this. So when you sort of look at your customer journey, there's a number of questions you would kind of ask yourself. Firstly is, who are your customers? Who are they? What do they do? Where do they come from? And what are they looking for? And when I say what they're looking for, I'm not talking just about hi-fi and audio products and systems and everything that you sell, but also other things that they might be looking for as well. So, what holidays are they looking at? What cars are they looking to buy? What houses? What, literally everything, because nothing happens in isolation. Context is everything. So the more context you understand about your customers, then the better you're going to be prepared to actually attract them into your business. Now, doing that is all very well, but of course, you've got to understand where they hang out. Quotation fingers, where do they actually go to buy stuff? It's really important. So, this is what I'm going to sort of dig into over the next few slides. Now, the thing about customer journey is it's not just a physical journey. It's a mental journey as well. And when you map the two together, what you come up with is something that looks a little bit like this. So it all starts with an awareness in the customer's mind of a need. They need to have something. Now, whether that need is generated by something that happens internally, so within their own home, within their own heads. So I can't hear anything. I need something to play my music on. That's a kind of a how an awareness might start internally, but also external factors as well. So a brand new technology starts up, and it kind of highlights perhaps a gap in their experience or their ownership of what they have. So, we can drive things from outside. So you need this brand new product. It's going to change your life. Oh, yes, I need it. So where do I find it? What is it all about? What is this brand new thing? Or how do I plug the gap in my home? So you do a bit of research, right? This is all quite straightforward stuff. I'm sure you've seen this before. Once you start doing your research, you begin to narrow your choices. So you think, okay, this is more me. That's within my budget. This I can push it out a little bit. That's going to look nice in the front room, etc., etc. And then once you've decided what you're going to buy and where you're going to buy it from, you buy it. There's no rocket science in that. It looks very, very simple. But it isn't always, as you know, because one of the key things is thinking about, when you think about those questions I asked in the previous slide, about where your customers hang out, you've also got to think about where you hang out as well. Where and how do you, as a business, position yourself within that customer's journey from awareness to purchase, so that they see you and realize that they can actually buy this thing from you. Is it that you purely situate yourself online, so YouTube, TikTok, on Google Ads, etc.? Do you go for the more traditional kind of press route? Do you go for printed ads and blogs and various other things, or do you actually try and go for a combination of those things? And then also not just the kind of the publications and the social media channels, but things like, what about national events? Do you get involved in those? I'm sure, and looking at most of you, I know that most of you do that. So it's also a question of how you do it as well. So if you look at the customer journey, now this is a kind of a map of that customer journey, if you like, from awareness up to purchase. And then I've taken it slightly beyond into into another two columns you'll see on there for evangelize and complaint, and upgrade and renew. So clearly the customer journey doesn't stop at the point of purchase. But in the old days, in the 90s, when I was working in retail, this is kind of what the customer journey looked like. So you would see quite easily that an awareness could be driven by word of mouth. It could come from visiting a shop and you see something that the shop's got, and you think, oh, that looks nice. What's that all about? And then you do a bit of research on it, so you find out more. So you might go and read up some magazines, but you might probably stay in the store as well, because after all, the guys in store, they're the experts. They're the ones who got it in. They're the ones who know all about it. If you want to compare with other products, then you would have probably gone to the newspapers and magazines and had a good read, but also you'd probably go to the store as well, actually, and just listen to different ones. And if you're going to buy it, chances are you're going to stay in the store. And when you return to either complain, evangelize, or upgrade, you're going to stay in the store. So pre-internet, as you all know, the store was key. It was absolutely critical. It was very difficult to take the store out of the customer journey. And I bet you kind of know where I'm going with this, right? So if we look at the internet days, that customer journey, or the number of choices within it, become a lot more varied, and the journey itself becomes potentially a lot more complex. Certainly, if you're looking at things like interest and research and comparison, it's not just about the store anymore. And even when it comes to buying the thing, it's not just about the store. The customer, as you know, has so much choice. And I know that we all kind of talk about this, and we write about it and we read about it, but it is so important to remember that your store is literally just one small cog in the entire customer journey. Now, when you put this customer journey in context of all the other things I talked about, so when you're looking at holidays and buying cars and houses and whatever else it is that your customer's looking to buy, that tiny little store here, that kind of diminishes. It recedes as if you're looking through from the end of from the wrong end of a telescope. So it becomes tiny, and you sort of factor in all these other myriad ways to kind of research, compare, to buy, to complain, and everything else. Now that's the internet, but we've had a further evolution even since then, because we had COVID in the last few years, and this has changed things even further. One of the big evolutions that we've seen since COVID is, on the one hand, the absolute acceleration or explosion, if you like, of the online endorser, the influencers that we see on YouTube, on TikTok, and all kinds of other sites. Peer reviews as well. Specialist magazines are still around, but they're decreasing. You know, their circulations are not what they used to be, and the kind of demographic that reads those magazines is also reducing. So what we've seen in contrast to that is the rise of social media. It was big before COVID. It's even bigger after COVID, and the complexity of social media has also grown. So it's a lot easier to kind of buy stuff using links sent through social media, and certainly TikTok as well. When you think about the online influencers, when you talk about comparing products, you know, TikTok has got absolutely massive. It's huge, and if you're looking to attract younger people into your business, then that is certainly a good place to start. But if you look at this matrix here, where is the shop? You know, the shop is still there. It's still very important. But in this particular customer's journey, it's only there when they want to upgrade or renew. It could be when they want to complain. So it's really important that if you're, if you're heavy on your bricks and mortar, as I know most hi-fi businesses are, because they need to be, because they are very experiential. We value having customers in our shop floors to listen and experience and touch and feel all the wonderful things that we've got to show them. But you have to make that store really stand up and stand out. So with that in mind, do not forget all the other things as well. And we'll come back to this. So kind of imprint this slide in your mind, if you like, because the key point that I want to put across from these slides here is that if you're not visible in any of these spaces, regardless of how important your store is for the experience, then people are going to find it difficult to see you. And if they can't see you, it's going to be difficult for you to attract them into your business. So if your customers are hanging out in these spaces, if they're visible on TikTok, if they go there a lot, if they visit Google, Amazon, eBay, YouTube, all of those places, and you're not visible, they just won't see you. So think about where your customers are. It's really, really important. Okay, so once you've done all the work on attracting your customers, and we will come back to this when we sort of hand over in just a moment, but think about, you know, if you're doing all this sales and marketing activity and changing your business and training your staff and everything else, then think about what happens when people do come into your shop. So you've gone to all the hard work to attract them. So what's their experience like when they actually come and visit you? Is it a 3-star experience? Is it a 5-star experience? You know, what do they actually gain from getting off their chairs and coming in? So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to put this to you, right? So here's the question. Have a think about this. Which of these experience is the closest one to that which your new customers receive in the first 10 minutes of visiting your stores? So here's experience A, right? So experience A is where you meet customers with a smile. You engage in a little bit of small talk, ask them what brings them in today. What do they have already? Do you show them some products that they say they're interested in? So they've already said they're interested in a turntable, a few speakers, and so on and so on. Do you then tell them all about the technology, the manufacturing process, the wonder of the brand, the history of the brand? Do you then talk about the quality of the connections, the cables, the power supply, and all the other lovely things that kind of go into it? And do your salespeople tell the customer their own opinions? After all, they're the experts, right? So I think this about this, and I think that one's the best one here, and I love this music, and in my opinion, it ought to be this. Or is it more like experience B, which starts very similar? So you meet customers with a smile, engage in the same kind of small talk. Maybe you offer them a coffee. So there's a little bit of difference there. Maybe you ask them about their music as well. So, you know, find out what they love and ask them what they want to achieve with their sound systems. You know, what do they aspire to? Do you ask them about their home? Do you ask who else listens to what music in the family? Where do they listen to it? How do they listen to it? You know, what do they prefer? Do they go out? Do they listen in their bedroom? Do they have it out in the garden, or what? Do your salespeople invite the opinions of your customers rather than giving them their own opinions? So the differences between these two things here, right? So essentially what you have is a product centric approach on your sales floor, and You also have a customer centric. Now, what we want to try and do, and it's really encouraging seeing the results of that poll, because most of you were voting B, which is great. And this is where a lot of the training that we can offer at Clarity can kind of help, because sometimes, you know, it's all too easy to start talking about the products. There's nothing wrong with doing that, to be honest. You know, it's all good, but when you put the customer first, everything changes and the experience becomes much more worthwhile to your customers. After all, if you're going to ask them to get off their chairs, get in their cars and brave the weather and the traffic and everything else, you know, you've got to give them something that's worth traveling for. So, you know, if you think about your product centric stuff, it's all right, there's nothing wrong with it, but the value to the business is very short term, because it's all just about the here and now. You're not asking anybody, you know, you're not making them engage with your business, so there's no real incentive for them to come back unless you're just selling everything really cheaply, and you know, or you're the only seller of that particular brand or product in town. You know, it's hard work. There is a big so what factor as well. You can wax lyrical about connectors and cables as much as you like, but if your customer says at the end of it, so what, then you know it's no good really. There's a reduced chance of customer loyalty, and to be honest, increasingly this kind of product centric approach is only really working on hardcore hi-fi enthusiasts who really get off on the hardware. So if you're looking to attract other customers, perhaps those who aren't really used to shopping in a hi-fi store, you know, who maybe see it as a kind of an exclusive domain from which they're not really included, then changing your sales approach to a more customer centric position makes them feel a lot more special and valued. It allows you to prove your expertise, so that you're not just going on about the technical stuff. You're showing your expertise by understanding the customer's needs, their aspirations, what they want to achieve, and what domestic situation they've got as well. So what their house looks like, what the acoustics are likely going to be, and who else is listening, and all that other stuff. And you know, you're putting your customer right at the center of the conversation. You're making them feel valued. You're enabling more people to see and actually experience the difference of getting out and visiting your shop over just clicking through a bunch of websites. It leads to a great chance for gaining customer loyalty. And from customer loyalty, we get referrals, we get recommendations, and we start to see a lot more 5-star reviews. As I said, there's nothing really wrong with the product centric approach, but really it's probably best to let all your web activities do the hard work there, so that your sales guys are actually freed up to focus more on the customer. Because if more people are researching and comparing their products online, what do they really need to do once they get to your shop? Maybe they just got to listen to it perhaps, and you know, just get a little bit of input, but that shouldn't be the focus of the entire conversation. Make the customer the focus of the conversation. And as I said, in a lot of our training with Clarity, we can certainly help you achieve that. So think about your engagement with customers, think about it throughout the experience, even after they've left the shop. You know, if you remember back to this little customer journey funnel which I put up a few slides back, let's reverse it and show you what happens after the purchase. So it does continue. You know, if everything goes well in store, we not only get repeat business, we can get more recommendations, reviews, referrals. All of that, the better it is, leads to loyalty. So customer loyalty, endorsement, which is where people are saying, yes, you know, buy from these guys, they're brilliant, I love them. But if you go further than that, if the experience is really, really special, then you get advocacy and evangelism, which is where people so passionately believe that not only their friends and family, but everybody should absolutely 100% buy from you. That's what you need, because then they will start doing the selling for you, or at least a big chunk of it. They'll start putting TikTok videos online and saying how brilliant you are and why they bought from you and what everything's all about and all of that stuff. And that's great, because then you start to build up a massive community of lots of people who really understand and share your business and enjoy buying from you and will sell for you. So right, that's the end of my section here. I'm just going to stop talking now, and I'm going to hand over to Darren. So thank you for listening to me. I'll be back towards the end of this presentation, but Darren, it is all yours, I believe.
Thank you, Paul. Great stuff. Okay. Right. So what I'm going to do is basically look through how we go about reviewing our business strengths. And what basically what we mean by this is about reviewing and analyzing our business or our businesses, so we can apply, I suppose, a bit of a stress test to the business, and try and make sure that we understand our customers, we understand our business strengths and weaknesses. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that every business has weaknesses, and making sure we understand our brand. And we need to do this when reviewing it against our competitors and our customer expectations. And we need to try and understand what actually differentiates us from our competition, what makes us stand out, what makes us different. Because if we're all going to go to market with exactly the same proposition, then there is no standout. So I think that's really important. And do you focus on customers or product? And that's something obviously Paul asked just a few minutes ago. And it's quite important that, because being consumer focused rather than product focused is a great way of appealing to the customer's needs and demands and desires, rather than just fulfilling product messaging and delivering product information. And also we should understand that our brand needs to be recognizable to our customers. And there's a number of things we can do around that. So I'm going to go on to what hopefully all of you recognize. But I think I'd be fair to say, and this question is fairly straightforward, but it's probably fair to say that most of us haven't actually undertaken analysis of our business recently. And it's always worth doing, and worth doing on a regular basis. And it's something I recommend that you all do. We'll actually be sharing at the end of this presentation a template that you can all use. And I think it's something that is worth undertaking, not only just yourself, but also some of your staff, to get their feedback on the business, looking at what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. Sorry, excuse Siri cutting in there. What are the opportunities, and also what are the threats to your business? And if we look at brand as part of this process, then really we need to understand is what is our brand, what is our identity? Are we distinct from that of our suppliers? So it's very easy to get caught into the trap of focusing on what our, or should I say, your suppliers require from you, and the messaging your suppliers deliver, which is great, but you need to make sure that it's done in a way that suits you and your brand, and allows you to apply your identity, something that is unique to you, allows you to stand out from the competition, and is an attraction to your customers. And also to establish what are your values, what are the ethics of the business, what does the business try to focus on, what does it want to deliver to its customers. And I think it's really important to think about that identity and how the customers perceive you. And I'd actually say that you need to try and make sure that these are very clearly defined, and that everyone in the business is bought into them and is aware of them. It needs to be more than just those at the top of the business that have set these standards and understand this. Everyone within the business should. Now, Paul touched on competition, and I think these are the similar four questions that Paul raised. So who are they? Where are they? What do they offer? And where are they aligned? So which brands are they aligned with? What kind of offers do they put out to their customer base? Where are they? Isn't just, are they round the corner? It's where are they socially, on social media? Where are they from a website perspective? How do they communicate with their customers? And what makes you different from them? What makes your offering different from what they're offering, and the way that they communicate with their customers? And then going back to customers, as Paul previously looked at, is who are they? What do they look like? What are their likes and dislikes? What are their values? And do those values align with your values as a business? And what are their expectations? And actually, are you able to fulfill those expectations as a business? So these are quite important questions, but all things that can be asked by running surveys, by engaging with your customers on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be a very convoluted customer survey to actually extract this information from them. And there's many tools that are available to allow you to dig into this. And I think it's important just to make sure that you as a business are aligned with your customers' needs and requirements, and also their desires. If we look at the sales and marketing side, kind of picking up on some of the points that Paul highlighted, and I think everyone would agree that effective marketing does equal sales. And when we say neither of these are exclusive, your marketing message and your sales message need to be in tune. They need to be aligned. Those objectives need to be aligned. And when looking at marketing, you almost need to separate what is your marketing message from sales to a degree, but those objectives need to be aligned. And when I say separate them slightly, in that your marketing message needs to be about you, your business, your products, etc., not a sales message. That's advertising. And actually, I would have to ask is, do you have a strategy in place around your marketing? Have you sat down and put together a plan for the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Because this is very important to actually set out at the start what you want to try and achieve, and set yourself some clear objectives and a strategy around how you deliver those objectives. I thought this would be quite useful. It's an extract from an article on Forbes.com. It's a little while ago, actually, but the fundamentals of this are still relevant today. What are the 6 elements of effective marketing? For me, the statement at the bottom of the paragraph there, regardless of what you're selling or where your problem lies, there are 6 key elements, and those are relatively unchanged even in today's market. It's just the way we deliver those that has changed. And we'll touch on those points as we continue. Free marketing is something that I have to say can baffle some people. It's not as complicated as maybe it looks on the outside. It just takes a little bit of skill and a little bit of knowledge. But there is a plethora of free marketing out there. And what we want to try and do is ensure that everyone is taking full advantage of that. Free marketing basically being social media, being video platforms, being web and newsletters, and all different forms and ways of communicating with your customers directly. There's lots of advantages to free marketing because you are in charge of the message, and you can tailor the message to suit you specifically as a business. And the message can be tailored to the consumer, because the consumer that watches TikTok videos is likely to be different to the consumer that regularly reads articles on Twitter, or what is now known as X. And one of the keys here you have to ask yourself is, do you have the expertise and the skill within the business to be able to deal with that. Well, that can be easily overcome, and we'll come back to that in a moment. Now, just touching on that, remembering back to the customer journey, it's important to point out the customer journey starts very much, or should I say, the customer journey is at both ends of this trail. It's around the awareness and consideration, and then also the advocacy. So awareness and consideration is during that period where the customer is getting to know what do they want to buy, fine tuning their choices, and not looking at just what, it's looking at where, who do they want to engage with, who do they want to pursue as their retailer, whether it be in person or online. And then, of course, the bit that a lot of us forget is the back end, the advocacy, following up and continuing your communications with your customer so that they then are getting information on future products, future launches, future events, and even just future news pieces around you and your business. Now, one of the key things around utilizing free marketing is that content is very much king. And content can take quite a myriad of forms. Going back to basics, well, content consists of really three things, I say, is video, image, and also written content. And need to look at how do you go ahead around creating your video content. Well, it's not as difficult as perhaps you think. You can utilize tools that you already have. You know, the mobile phone is brilliant for creating video content. The environment, you can use your own store, and you can use your own staff to create this, both video and even image content. There's lots of different tools you can use to create image content as well. Canva, Adobe are just two that are available. But you need to make sure that what you're using and utilizing represents you and your brand. And then written content takes forms of news, stories, commentary on what's going on in the marketplace, some reviews of product. And these should follow similar themes to those of your video and image content as well. I'm asking the question about where and what because it's one of those questions that gets thrown at me, as in where do I place this content? And obviously we've touched on a lot of them already. Social media is probably the biggest and the easiest way to reach the masses. Webinars are great as per what we're doing today. Blogs, vlogs, website, newsletters, campaigns. So there's lots of different ways of actually of places to put your messaging, but you need to try and understand exactly what suits your customers and what your customers are actually engaging with. And this is a really important one, and it's not to fall into the trap of sharing just anything and everything. Some people, and I've seen it, both retailers and brands, who will just randomly post pictures that have been posted by brands or other members of the industry without any commentary, without any information, and expect that will generate interest. Unfortunately, it tends to clog up your social media and confuse quite often. And if your messaging isn't engaging, people will very quickly switch off. And it's understanding what content works for you. And I think this is really, really key to investigate what others are doing. What can you see works for others? And perform your own tests. Do some A/B comparisons, and utilize data in order to see how effective your marketing is. And question consumers when they come into the store. How did they hear about you, etc. And I think it's, again, it's important here to make sure that you have a way of capturing the data that is produced off the back of all of your marketing. Social media is great because most of the channels have a way of reporting data in quite a detailed manner, certainly detailed enough to see if your posts are being effective. And then also you do need to look at building up a CRM, a customer relation management system, just basically to track your customers. And that again can be done within tools such as MailChimp, for instance. And then if you look at your sales process, well, most of you will operate online and in store. And it's really important to make sure that both these platforms are in tune with one another. They're both representative of you and your business. Your online store should be a representation of your retail store. It should just be another arm. What you want to try and avoid is having different messaging, a different profile online to what you have in store, because that then is confusing to the customer. There's no reason why you can't have an online store that perhaps has a different message as long as it's branded differently. It shouldn't be one of the same brand. And this should all be integrated within your sales and marketing strategy. And by doing this, you can get better qualified leads. You can have better staff engagement, and also the staff can actually spend time on focusing on delivering the sale, delivering the upsell, if the customer has qualified everything before they come to the store. Really important that. And this really just highlights the benefits of physical and online, and what really you need to try and do to ensure that they are in sync and ensure that they're delivering the same messages. Sometimes the expertise and the skill to actually deliver this may not be in the business, so you may need to look at outsourcing. You know, there's many people you can talk to. We can offer some advice. And also, one of the things we can do is look at how to better train individuals in store to capitalize on this as well. And then finally, when looking at the your sales process, as Paul elaborated on earlier, that sales funnel is really important. Generating the awareness, generating the interest, creating the desire is absolutely fundamental, and is what your marketing message should all be about. Without those three sections of the funnel, the action, i.e. the sales conversion, is much, much harder. It's a much longer process and actually more difficult. Much, much better if a customer comes into you knowing that you're the right store for them, knowing that you've got the right products for them, and you just need to deliver that at point of sale. Also, what I'd say is please don't forget about the after sale. Don't forget about the follow-up. It's really important that you continue your conversation with your customers so that they remain aware of you, your business, your products, your offerings, etc. And newsletters, videos, maintaining your social media content and commentary with your customers is really, really important. So I will close my section now. We'll just move on to a little summary. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Darren. Lots of really, really useful information there. So just as we come to the end of this now, everybody, let's just do a little wrap up here just to kind of summarize everything that we've talked about. So, when we're talking about making your business more magnetic, it really does start with knowing your customers. If you don't know who the customers you want to attract into your business are, you've got literally no chance of doing it. So, do please take the time to understand who they are, not just the customers who currently shop with you, but also think about the people you want to shop for you. You know, if you've got a particular demographic of people who always come to you and they're loyal and it's good, that's great. But if you want to widen things, if you want to open it up a bit more and be more inclusive, just understand what it is that makes those people tick. What else do they buy? Where do they hang out in terms of online? Where do they get their information from? Do they go primarily on TikTok? Are they kind of more traditional kind of magazine readers? And then once you've got that information, create your marketing content so that it appeals to those people. As I said earlier, the more context you have, the better the better informed you are. So then when it comes to using the free marketing tools that Darren alluded to, when it comes to, you know, understanding your brand, you know exactly how to build all that so that it appeals to them. You know, is your logo, for example, something that belonged in the 1920s or the 1940s? Is it a 2023 logo? Will it attract the people you want to bring into the business? Just simple stuff like that. It all contributes to being magnetic, or the opposite of that, which is repulsive. You know, we're sort of turning people away, and that's what we don't want. So get your brand, make it strong, make it appealing, and use as much marketing as you can to get it out there. Once you've done that, don't forget about the conversion as well. So the marketing will build the awareness, that top part of the funnel, which will suck people in. But when they come down the other side and drop out the bottom, you've got to have some system in place that will convert those sales, convert those leads into sales. Otherwise, all that marketing has kind of gone nowhere, really. Marketing won't sell for you. It will to a degree, but you need that action. If you remember the last slide that Darren put up, that thing about action right at the bottom of it, you know, you've got to do that last bit to kind of make people understand the benefits of buying from you, the wonder that this brand new product or brand new system or whatever it is will bring to their lives, how it will help them achieve their aspirations. You know, so that's where the sales part comes into it. Okay, so forget about making the sales part product centric, make it customer centric, make it all about the customer. And then don't forget, once you've got the money in the till, that's not the end of it, because it's actually a lot easier to sell to customers who've already bought from you than it is to put the money back in and try and attract new customers. You need both of those, but do not, under any circumstances, please don't forget about your existing customers. They're your loyalty base, they're your advocates, they're the people who will do a lot of the selling for you. So make sure, you know, I know a lot of you guys, looking at the names here, I know a lot of you have activities. Sort of in the evenings, you align yourself with suppliers to do special events and various things like that. So that's all great. Keep it going and use the marketing tools as well. Feed it back into that. Make sure that your existing customers know what you're doing. Know when you're getting new brands in, new products in, when you're running an evening, VIP evening or something like that. You know, so continue to make them feel special. In a way, it's not rocket science, but it is a lot of work. It's not difficult as such, but it does need a lot of time, and it's a lot of also kind of testing as well. So you might not get it right first time. It may need a little bit of tweaking. You know, you can kind of use your marketing and divide it to see what works. So you do like A and B testing. You try this idea on those people, you try this idea on some other people, and see what works. There's a lot of tools out there that allow you to really analyze your reach, your marketing reach, and the quality and impact and the engagement of with your content. So whether you're using the free tools on things like Facebook and TikTok and LinkedIn or what have you, or whether you're using something like Mailchimp, for example, or Dot Digital, you know, there's a lot of CRM tools out there which are really, really useful, because the more information you have, the better qualified you are to get the people into your business, and the more likely you're going to be able to convert them and keep them loyal to the business, you know, loyal to you and your people as well. You know, it's all part of the same thing. So Okay, so that is pretty much it from us. So we're pretty much on time actually, which I'm really impressed with. What I'm going to do is just tell you something which you can do now. So just to kind of wrap up what we've been talking about. So a good place to start before you start doing anything now is when you go back, just do a little SWOT analysis of your business. That's the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities that you see around you, and a potential threat. So what are the competition doing? How are how are factors within your locality affecting your business? Focus on your strengths. Look at what they are. Look at your customers as well. Think about what you can do to make their experience better. So remember when we did that A and B poll on the shop floor. If you do find your guys are getting more focused on the product, bring them back to the customer. As I said, we can kind of help with a lot of that through Clarity training, and reach your customers through more focused marketing. Look at what makes them tick, look at what works, try those free tools. Canva is a brilliant one for creating not just still image content, but they do videos on there as well. Really easy, and you can upload those to TikTok and YouTube and whatever else you do. And also don't forget to sign up for Clarity training events. So really important stuff. You can find us on the website, which is clarityalliance.co.uk. And that's about it. So I'm just going to say a big thank you from me and from Darren and from everyone
Yeah,
at Clarity. Thank you
yeah, thank you.
for joining us this morning. It's been an absolute delight to have you on.
And Paul, just before we sign off, what I'd say, everyone, please do register. Please do look out for future communications because, as Paul said right at the start, which we may have missed due to IT failure, is that this is just a taster and a teaser of our full day training courses that we are launching effectively now. We're going to circulate dates along with the costs, but these will be a full day event. So we'll go into much more detail around the subjects we've touched on because we have very much skimmed across the top of it. There's a lot more to go into, something that all members of staff can benefit from.
Mm.
So we really look forward to getting you involved in those sessions. As I say, please register and then look out for the dates being circulated.
Definitely. And thank you for bearing with us through our technical issues at the start of this. Have a great day, everybody. And we'll hopefully see you all very shortly. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.